So it now gives me great pleasure to introduce Ronald W. from Los Angeles, who will be sharing for about 50 minutes on the topic, the bondage of self, freedom from the bondage of self. Thanks, Ronald.
Thank you so much, Chanel. Hello, everyone. My name is Ronald White. I'm an alcoholic, sober by the grace of a loving God and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. My sobriety date, July the 14th of 1986. Um, I have a home group. It's called the Never Too Early Big Book Workshop. We meet every Sunday morning on the online platform. We have approximately 450 intimate friends that get together every Sunday morning to take a walk through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We started with about 13 in November of 1987 in my mother's house, and thus we grow. I have a sponsor. His name is Jerome Scott. I sponsor men and women in Alcoholics Anonymous. Anybody that asks me for help, I will uh, I will help guide them if they allow me to. And Alcoholics Anonymous has literally saved my life. It's funny that Maya, thank you. Maya reached out to me and had asked me to share. And Maya was even kind enough to offer me my pick of a topic. And she even gave me the suggestions. I didn't have to come up with the suggestions. She had actually suggested a different topic, except, but she had this one on part of the list. And this was a great one, this freedom from the bondage, because that workshop, that's my home group, is about to do the third step prayer together as a group this coming Sunday. And that prayer talks about uh, free me from the prison, right? Free me from the prison of self, right? That that's what I need to be free from, the bondage of self. And that's this freedom from bondage. I thought it folded in quite nicely. Now, y'all gonna have to. Some of you guys have ridden with me before, and by that I mean you've journeyed with me through my life, and so especially when I have a topic, I might jump around in different places to illustrate what I think the topic is, as opposed to telling my story necessarily in a chronological fashion. And so, what I want to give you right now is an illustration of one of my days. I want to talk about yesterday. I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. My wife asked me, why do I get up so early? Because generally speaking, the earliest I have to be at work is about 8 o'clock. And so I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. And she wonders about this. I think she wonders because sometimes I leave the house about that time. Well, where are you going? Right? At 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, I get up at 4 because I have a practice after I do all my hygiene stuff that takes about half an hour. I'm 70, so it takes a little while to get the engine going, the motor going, except, but I do pretty good. But about 4:30, I have a chaise lounge right behind me in a little sitting room that we have, that I lay in the dark with some ear pods with some soft music, and I read some meditations. A good friend of mine sends me every day a series of readings from AA approved literature. And so I do all these readings, which take maybe about 15 minutes, and then I do some praying, and then I play some little games to get my brain to ticking. Then I start fielding calls from different people that I sponsor. I have been fortunate enough to sponsor people from all over the world. Uh, to give you an example, I was up at 5 a.m. this morning to speak with one of my sponsees who happens to be present in this meeting. Uh, and I want to thank you, for getting my ass up on Saturday morning. We talked for about an hour. Right after her, I have a guy that I sponsor in Vermont. Just in case you don't know, you can see from my square, I'm in Los Angeles. So I have this guy, this gentleman that lives in Vermont, all the way over on the East Coast, that calls me at 6 a.m. And we talk for about an hour. Then I have a 7 a.m. meeting that I do Monday through Saturday, and I get on that meeting out of Oregon. Um, and so I'm in that meeting. We Yesterday we did the 12 and 12. We did a 12 and 12 study. This morning we did as Bill sees it. Um, on Saturday mornings, I have to cut that meeting short by half an hour because I have a lady that I sponsor who lives in Arizona that calls me up, and we talk for about an hour. Now, each one of these people I've talked about are very important in my life, and I care about them, and they are kind enough to share honestly with me what's going on with them. And in that way, it enlarges my life. With one of them, uh, well, I'm not going to get, let me back up because I was about to talk about the substance of my conversation with her. And I know you nosy people would love to know that, except I'm not going to do that today. Uh, but know this, uh, after I got on my 7 a.m. morning meeting yesterday, one of my sponsees who's in Oregon calls me up and we had a lovely conversation. And as soon as I finished talking with her, I walked into a detox that I work at in Gardena here in Los Angeles. And after I did that detox and I got to talk to some men and women about my life and about giving them some hope on recovering, uh, then I go to a PHP and an IOP and some other people who are for 3 hours of meetings with them where I facilitate groups where I try to help them say so. After that, I go and I meet a client, one of my clients who was homeless who we helped transition into housing. I meet her at a McDonald's and buy her and her ex-husband some lunch because she was in a coma uh, for about 4 weeks where she just all her systems set out and they were about to take her off life support and she happens to be alive and now she's asking me for help because she needs to be rehoused. So I get to do that. You notice I didn't say I have to do that. I get to do that. After I talk with her, I drive to a shelter where there's two clients that I I do weekly meetings for, and I go and I talk to them. I give them some lunch money, and then after I do that, I come home, and my wife and I get ready to go to a volleyball game that my granddaughter is in. My youngest granddaughter is having her first volleyball match, and she goes to a charter school in Hollywood for the performing arts because she wants to get in that. So we go out there and we watch her in her first volleyball game. Directly from there, Friday night is date night. So we go to a club called the Blue Note. And at the Blue Note, there's an artist I've never heard of, and he's there. And I find out when he first starts, he's basically a rapper, right? You know, and I'm 70. I told you it's not really rapping. Some of the language is a little bit, spicy and stuff. And uh, I I almost see, I'm so glad you and Alcoholics Anonymous have taught me, Ronald, have an open mind and sit there. And you know what helped sell me? I looked around me as the person was going through their first number, and I saw the enthusiasm and the love of the members, of the people in the audience. And it was catching to me. Sound familiar? It was their enthusiasm was catching, and it was able to help me open my mind. And when my mind opened up, this guy was a guy called, of all things, Killer Mike, right? And I find out this guy had got 3 Grammys. He had got an rap album of the year, right? I'm in the room with somebody, and I have stumbled into an amazing performance. And me and my wife there, and we are grooving and stuff, and we are having a great time. And we came home, and then I made passion. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, see, y'all, y'all think I'm gonna tell it all today. Let's just say me and my wife ended the night fantastically. I just I'll just leave it at that for you nosy people. And what I'm telling you, I share this stuff with you guys to let you know that I I am free, that I have off that all my life I have wanted to be me, and I didn't even know it. That all my life I have spent trying to be somebody or something else other than me, and I am the person I have always wanted to be. You guys gave me that. Alcoholics Anonymous gave me that. I was born and raised here in Los Angeles. I have 5 brothers. There's 6 boys in my family. My mother pretty much raised us alone since I was about 8 years old because my father liked to drink and my mother felt he was too irresponsible to uh, to be her husband anymore. And so she separated from him, put him out, and she raised us by herself. We were good boys when we were growing up, and when I mean, but we weren't getting in any trouble or anything like that. And and three of us, me and my brother Ralph, my brother Reggie, were pretty much nerds as we grew up, and we read a lot. And I was one. I looked at TV a lot. I really escaped in television a lot, uh, because the fantasy world is where I wanted to live because that's the way I thought life really was, the idyllic life, the life that I thought that I should want. And the people on television didn't look like my family. They 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 had mothers with aprons on that were, at home when the dad came home. Hey Ward, and all this other kind of stuff, right? We didn't look like that. My mother was a domestic. My mother cooked and cleaned for other people's families to keep food on our table. My mother, in a way, and that's so funny because when I looked at, y'all have to excuse me, I get reflective when I share sometimes because I remember stuff that I hadn't thought about before sometimes. And my mother, some might have almost said that my mother was an absentee mother in that my mother worked and she went to night school a lot. She went to get a high school diploma at night school. She went to night school to get a bachelor's degree, first an AA degree, ironically, uh, uh, and a bachelor's degree. And my mother was always, but my mother was always present in our lives, even when she was absent. My mother was always present. My mother always had us in church. She stressed education and religion. She always wanted to make sure that we had values and morals, that we walked the straight line. My mother was always a guidepost in our lives. My mother was I don't want to make her seem like a saint because mama was hard too on us sometimes because raising six boys as a woman in South Central LA and Watts, she has to make sure that she's on us to make sure that and I hated it sometimes. I hated the discipline. I hated the fact that we didn't seem to have the freedom that other kids had, that we had to be home before the street lights came on. And I wanted to be like Miss Cat's kids, the kids right next door. I want to be like those kids, the ones that are in prison now, the ones that had no discipline and stuff, the ones that, those kids. Yeah, my mama had the nerve to want us to be in church, want us to be safe, want us to be, damn her. But my mama, thank God she did that because my mother laid a foundation. But I need to let you know if you're new in here, it doesn't matter what your background might be, whether or not you came from a single parent home or a two-parent home. It doesn't matter if you were rich and famous or if you were poor and homeless. It doesn't matter whether or not you're black or if you're white. It doesn't matter if you're a man or if you're a woman. If you're an alcoholic, it doesn't matter any of uh, those statistics. So when I tell my story, it's not to suggest that it's because of these things that I'm an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic because I am bodily and mentally different from my fellows. That when I drink, I developed an allergy, an allergic reaction to alcohol. That when I drink or use drugs, I have a craving that is created in my body, a chemical reaction that demands more. It doesn't ask for more, it demands more and will do whatever it takes to get more. Um, and then the second component, this mental component, is that I am obsessed with it. It means that even when it starts to hurt me, I make excuses for it. It means that I can't stay away from it. I'm like an abused wife, right? I make excuses for the abuser. I say, no, it's my fault. No, or no, it's somebody else's fault. Or it's not. No, it can't be the alcohol. That's the one good thing I have. It loves me, right? And I am insane. So anyway, I told y'all I was going to be jumping all over the place. Let me get back to the story. Okay. So I'm being raised in South Central Los Angeles. I have good grades because of all the reading that I do to escape and all the television and movies and comic books that I've ingested. But I'm kind of screwed up in terms of uh, being street smart, being able to be socially adept because I live internally. I don't know if there's anybody else here, but I live in my head. I don't live in the world. I live in my head. And so this is what that looks like. I've always wanted to be somebody important, but I've always felt like I wasn't capable of it. I've always, even when I've gotten good grades, even when I was academically an achiever, I thought that that wasn't really important to the world. What was important is the flashy things, the athletic things, being somebody who could score touchdowns, people who, because isn't it evident they have people cheering for them? They have people that got the pom poms, they've got the fanfare, they've got all that. Ain't nobody ever come in science class. Yes, Ronald, that's the right answer. Right? There was nobody that was ever I never felt like I had the uh that's that ego. That's that ego, right? I've never had my ego massaged enough. I've never had that kind of thing. I've always wanted to be written up in the newspapers. Let me tell you what bondage of self looks like. I'm going to tell you a few things. I always wanted to be an athlete because they had a claim and they would be written up in newspapers. I was written up in the newspapers because of my academic achievements. But for some reason, I dismissed that. That wasn't really being written up because nobody reads about the academics and stuff, right, Tanya? So I don't really think that they see me the way that they see the athlete. I'm getting everything that I want, yet it doesn't seem like it. I felt like I didn't measure up and I wasn't a good dancer, that I couldn't do whatever. There was an old television show that used to come on television. My sponsor, Inette, always says I should talk about this. This was a show called Soul Train, right? Soul Train was a syndicated dance show for black dance show, supposed to be the Black American Bandstand. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was at a band rehearsal. I play trombone, and I'm part of a jazz band led by a guy named Gerald Wilson. If you Google him, you'll see he's a famous band leader. Gerald Wilson was tutoring us as these black kids. I'm getting all this special stuff, right? But I can't see it. His niece was the casting director for Soul Train. She comes into a rehearsal. She said, anybody interested in going on this new show we're going to be having coming out? And so that's how I ended up on the first two seasons of Soul Train dancing. But instead of me thinking, I'm on Soul Train, I'm thinking, how come I'm dancing in the back of the stage instead of in the front of the stage? How come I'm not one of those that's getting, really seen a lot and stuff? You can give me something, but you can never give me enough. You can't give it to me in the right slice. You can't give me the right whatever. I've always gotten what I wanted. When I was in the band, I, I I was part of one of the most acclaimed, decorated bands in music programs in Los Angeles. We had symphonic band, we had orchestral band, we had jazz band, we had marching band, and all of our different ones. We won awards for competitions that we would get in. I always wanted to be an athlete competing. I'm in the band competing, but nobody thinks a band kid is cool, right? Or whatever. They loved us at the music program. We were even more acclaimed than our athletic program, but I dismissed it. We marched in the Rose Parade. We went to Hawaii. We did all kinds of things. What I'm trying to illustrate to you is I have always stolen from myself because I can't see nor perceive the truth. I'm so in bondage to what I think is supposed to be attractive, what I think is supposed to, I can't even see it that I already have it. And ego, pride and ego are something else. I I graduate from high school, getting ready to go to college, and I'm rejected at the college that I want to go to, which is UCLA, because that's where my brother Ralph went. Now you need to know this. I've always resented Ralph because Ralph is even more has more achievements than me academically and otherwise, and he's 1 year older than me chronologically. I am 88 days more sober than him. I want you guys to know that. Okay. I am. Anyway, but I don't, that's not really important. But, but I want to go to UCLA with Ralph, but I get rejected because they send the wrong transcripts to UCLA. And by accident, God, I have to go to a university, which Ralph recommended, go to a university called Loyola Marymount University, a Catholic school. Now, I don't know anything about Catholicism, but Ralph says the class size is small and intimate. UCLA, we're in halls with over 100 people in the class. You never get the professor's attention. You can get it. God has always been doing for me what I can't do for myself, but I can't see it because I am in bondage of what I think I want, right? What I think I should have. I think I know what that's supposed to look like. I go to Loyola, and that's when I start drinking. That's when I cease to be a nerd because I wanted to be cool and I wanted to be free. Y'all need to know, man, alcohol freed me. It freed me from the bondage of self. It freed me from every fear and inhibition that I'd grown up with. And now I'm taking risk. I'm taking chances. I'm the president of the Black Students Freedom Alliance, the BSFA, right? This is back in the 70s, right? I I'm going to the frat parties. I'm going to the beer bus and the panty raids. I'm in life, right? I, and so when it turned on me, I couldn't see it. Dr. Silkworth, in the doctor's opinion, he chronicles the journey of the alcoholic. He says men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced. I love the effect produced so much that I couldn't just confine it to the weekends. I started drinking and using on school nights. And he says that even when they said the sensation is so elusive, meaning I can't hold on to it, I have to keep chasing it. And now I'm chasing it throughout the week. And even when they admit it is injurious, my grades start to slip. I start to, they say, they after a time can't differentiate the true from the false. I can't tell that it's hurting me because I'm chasing the fit because that's the thing that freed me. And I have to hold on to that, right? Because I remember what it felt like to be in bondage when I was going through high school. I remember what it felt like to be in bondage. And I want to retain the thing that helped me become free, even so much that even when it stops letting me be free, because he says this, they are irritable, he meaning Dr. Silkworth. He says they are irritable, restless, and discontented unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort that comes at once by taking a few. You notice that word, the sense of ease and comfort. It ain't even ease and comfort. It has ceased to be ease and comfort. I only think it's going to be ease and comfort. I only feel like it's going to be ease and comfort again. And because y'all need to know that once I got started around my third, fourth year, it's a mission from that point on. Ain't no ease and comfort involved. We doing it, right? So much that my life now starts to do this downturn in terms of my morals and my values. I go to law school and I speed my way through law school, putting a little additive to the alcohol, this thing called cocaine. I add that a little bit of that, little sniffing, right? And I speed through law school. In 2.5 years, I finished. I passed the bar the first time out, and now I start becoming a practicing attorney back here in Los Angeles. Let me tell you what that looks like. I get jobs, dream jobs. I get the first job I get, I'm with the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. That might not sound like a dream job. Let you know that when I was growing up, I've always wanted to be a benefit to my community. I've always grown up saying I'm going to be like one of those guys that gives back, that comes back, that ends up being somebody that the community can depend on. I'm going to be this. I'm one of the first kids, me and Ralph now and Reggie were the first kids off our block to go to college in our community. We were looked up to. Here I have a chance to give back. You know what I did is I took from that job and looking back on it, know this. My perception of life is this. When I paint a picture, sometimes you guys, I try to paint this brush like I'm either all this or all that. I did some good work with the Legal Aid Foundation. Never what I could have done. Never how much I should have done. Never how much I had the ability to do because I'm living the double life. I'm working hard at day, but now I'm partying hard all night. And then the partying starts to intrude on the work. Um, and I run from that job. I abandoned it after a year, and I get employed by a lady who was an entertainer, a musician who was starting a management company to manage her old career. She had a dream. She said she thinks that artists get gypped because they're mismanaged. And she said, I want to manage myself. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna invest my money and I'm gonna hire my own lawyer and I'm gonna hire my own promoter, my own guy to do the live show. I hire my own guy to do my recording stuff. And she had a dream. And she started a company called Class Act Enterprises. And I was the legal arm of that, the legal consultant, and she trusted me and she did. I was doing copyrights, I was doing all this stuff, but at night I was the vampire. She didn't know anything about alcohol or drugs, but you know, need to know this, man, that I became very sick during that time because what comes along with a lot of acclaim and a lot of other things comes an even greater need to hide, to lie, to be deceptive. And now the prison that I'm building is starting to become even tighter. Now, I can't see this at the time, but after 2 years of doing that job, traveling around the world, going to the Houston Astrodome for the Rick James Super Freak Tour, we were the opening act. We went to Radio City Music Hall. We were the opening act for Ashford and Simpson. We were doing all kinds of stuff, right? I abandoned that job. I eventually get hired by the Olympic Committee here in Los Angeles. We had the Olympics coming here to LA to be at the Coliseum and other forums. I got free tickets to every event. I have yet to see any events in the Olympics because I'm an alcoholic. And I find a way to screw that job up by stealing $800 from the Olympic Committee to get loaded. And I get so paranoid, I don't even go back to the job. I abandon. What I'm painting for you is this: God has always been there with me. God has always blessed me, but I am such bondage that I can't see it because I am still pursuing the thing that had freed me. And now I am so obsessed with it. And obsession is a thought that overrules all rational thought. I like to say it's a persistent preoccupation with an often unreasonable and disturbing idea, thought, or feeling. What's the unreasonable idea, thought, or feeling I can't get out of my head that I can beat the game, that I can drink and use without consequence? But I can't tell the true from the false. It's killing me. The gorilla is killing me, and I can't see it. Thank God that uh, when this program was founded, um, the founders were in a part of a group called the Oxford Groups, right? And one of the basic tenet of the Oxford Group is that I have to be completely deflated. I have to be completely defeated before I can be recreated, before my life can be recreated. That I have to be completely uh, that ass has to be whooped before I'll reach for help, before I will look for something outside of me, but also within me to save me. Uh, I had a royal ass whooping administered to me on July the 13th of 1986 in front of my mother, who did nothing to attempt to rescue me. That gave me this sliver, this moment of clarity um, that allowed me to get to a recovery home the very next day, a place called the Salvation Army Harbor Light Center. When I went to the Harbor Light Center, uh, I don't know. I think I should pause and think for a second because because I think we have some new people on here. And if you're new, you might be listening to me and a lot of the things that I said, especially the way that I started off sharing about these things that I did yesterday, that these things may be so far out of reach for you and so just unbelievable and so whatever. You might think that you're not like me. That can't happen for you because I'm not capable of doing all of those things. I was not capable of doing any of that when I first got sober, but I was whooped. It's the first requirement to be completely defeated. It seems so such so paradoxical that uh for me, I in order for me to be recreated, I must be defeated first. But that's the exact truth. That finally I had to have all the game whooped out of me because I was so smart. I would always try to find a way out, find some way out because I had never been a proponent of quitters. You got to quit to win. No, quitters never win, is what I was told. You guys taught me just the opposite. You told me that in order for me, I had to surrender in order to win. Now, to surrender means one has to be defeated. One has to have that ass whooped, right? One has to, that's when you surrender. Surrender is not an admission. No, it's a concession. I conceded finally. When I was in the Harbor Light Center, let me tell you what really rescued me, what really saved me. The stories. The stories from members of Alcoholics Anonymous that were bringing a panel into that recovery home that I was a part of. And thank God for H&I. If there's anybody involved in H&I, if you ever get discouraged taking meetings to those places, those jails, those hospitals, those recovery homes, please, please, please know this. You saved me. Here's one. I know there are many others, but you need to know, man, that there's somebody out there that is listening. Even if it looks like there's 10 people there and it looks like nine of them are yawning or sleeping, there's always at least one person that is desperate for what you have to offer. I was desperate for what they had to offer. And I listened, as they say, as only the dying could hear. And I fell in love with the fellowship before fell in love with the program. The home group that I had was a very festive group. They love dances, they love picnics, they love, all that kind of stuff. In my arrogance, when I was about 10 or 15 years sober, I would go around saying, that ain't Alcoholics Anonymous. Those dances ain't, they're playing those dominoes and doing all that other kind of stuff, right? I would say that's not Alcoholics Anonymous. That's the fellowship. That's the unity. That's the nursing of the body back to health. That's the thing. I needed to know that I could laugh sober. I needed to know that you could have fun sober. I needed to know that families got together at those picnics and stuff. I needed to know that I could dance without being self-conscious, that I need to have nothing in my system now in order for me to be able to dance and we could laugh and we could do whatever. That shit saved me. And then after about a year of that, I wanted more because I did start feeling like a bit of a fake and a phony and a fraud in Alcoholics Anonymous, talking about the program works, keep coming back. And wasn't even doing the program. I was in meetings. I would be in step studies that we would read a whole chapter and then we try to, just do general sharing off of it. Nobody's really talking about what we read and what have you. And I was hungry for something more. And we saw at a marathon meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, there was a group that was going through a format of reading and breaking that paragraph down, sentence by sentence, line by line. And that interested us. Big Book by the Sea, they were called, run by a guy named Joe Hawk. And we asked a man and a woman from that group to come lead us, walk us through that book if they would come to my mother's house. Now, you need to know this, that they seemed like they were so sober because they were going through the process. They maybe had about 4 months more than us. And they seemed like they really had but it saved me. It saved me. Um, the process of going through the 12 steps of recovery, the first two steps being conclusions I make based on my experience, that whooping that I took showed me that I was powerless, that I tried, mama couldn't keep me sober, nobody, the preacher couldn't keep me sober, there was no human power. I thought I was I couldn't keep me sober, that I needed something more. I needed something more. And it almost seems like, even though I hadn't gone through the steps, yet the rooms, the fellowship, the group. When it seems like when I was with you, and I need to tell, I was in meetings every day, every day. Um, when we started going through this process of recovery, and we got to that step three, made a decision to turn our will and our lives, our thoughts and our actions over to the care of this power. And I thought if there was an analogy. I need to give a shout out first to somebody here. Now he came much later, but Jimmy, I want to thank you. Jimmy had me and my brother come out to do a Woodstock out in New Jersey a number of years ago. Uh, one of the first Woodstocks that I had done. He had me doing step one, and our plane was late getting in. There was some kind of connection problem, whatever, and we running in. Everybody sitting in the hall in the banquet, hall, and we running in. I'm trying to change and get whatever, and I run up and I do a stuff, and I don't even remember what it was that I said because it was so frantic and so hectic. But I need to let you know, Jimmy, I love you for allowing me to do that. And there was something in I, I was free from thinking about what I needed to say, right? I just talked. I didn't have time to be frightened or afraid. When I came into this meeting today, there are so many familiar faces in here, people that I know and that I love. Do you know when I get in my greatest bondage is when I feel like I might let you guys down. That I love you guys so much and I love what this is for me and who you are to me. And I know what that is pride. That's what I think you think about me, right? And pride can have me in bondage. I feel almost more comfortable speaking in front of a group of strangers than my friends. I sometimes won't even advertise. When I say advertise, share when I'm sharing somewhere, when I'm going to speak somewhere, because I don't want all the people who've heard me. Because in my head, they've heard this shit before. They're not going to want to be. Let me tell you this. I was turning the television. It was either last night or night before last. I was turning the channel and I I saw Shawshank Redemption on there. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Shawshank Redemption. If you don't know what it is, look what Google watch the movie if you can. Um, I love Shawshank Redemption so much, I will stop whenever I want to see the line. I want to hear the lines. I want to see Andy standing in the rain with it. I want to see uh, Morgan Freeman talking about get busy living or get busy dying. I want to see, I want to see all of that. I don't want them to cut nothing out. When I go to concerts and I see some of my favorite groups, I don't want to hear a medley of your greatest hits. I want to hear you do the whole song. I want to hear you hit that high note. I want to hear you do whatever. When I come to share in meetings, there are people here that know my story. Chris could probably tell my story better than me. She could probably get up here. I know Jimmy know my story. There's all kind of people in here that know my story that could probably tell it just as well as me. But what I found from me listening, see, that's why I have to be. This is freedom from the bondage of self. Because I work with people so much, I get to flip the experience. I get to now see it through other people's eyes, and I don't trip so much anymore. You notice I said so much because I still trip sometimes, right? But I don't trip so much anymore, right, Tina? I don't, I have people that are so important to me. But once I get started, you guys have freed me. I might be a little nervous and in my head at first, but man, once I get talking, man, we just talking. We friends. You're my people. I love you. You understand me. I'm not afraid of judgment. In fact, I say that shit, right? I I've spoken some places and there's been this big receiving line. Uh Everybody hugging you, telling you how great you are and stuff. And then there's always somebody in the line. I was in Ohio once, and this lady said, son, how could you mess up that your pitch by saying that bad word, right? I said one word. And it was a word to illustrate, the way I was before I got load and the way after. I used to say when I was before I started drinking, I would say, "Oh, you motherfucker," right? And when I started to drink, it was, "Oh, motherfucker," right? It was just like just to illustrate the difference, right? That lady got on me, and there were 500 people in that line. Do you know who I thought about when I got home? That because that's the way. For some reason, I still have this thing in me that wants everybody to like me. Everybody ain't gonna like me. Everybody ain't gonna get me. I'm not everybody's flavor. I'm not supposed to be everybody's flavor. I'm me, right? And everybody, I don't allow you to just be you. And for you, you should be able to be free to say, okay, I get this guy. I'm vibe. Some people say I don't get him. I do whatever. I have the same thing with other speakers. I understand now. Every speaker ain't for me. There's somebody in the room that gets that person or that person gets. And that's why we're not robots in this fellowship, that we don't have the same cadence and the same pitch and the same whatever. That Alcoholics Anonymous has freed me enough that I can be me, that I don't have to be afraid to walk around now trying to masquerade as somebody that I'm not. I can be my authentic self, that I don't have to. Man, do you know how freeing that is? That came from inventories. I had to write about people that I was pissed off about, and then find out it was all about me and the way that I was selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, or frightened. See, it took a lot of inventories. I pulled out a lot of things from that, some defects in my character. This whole judgmental thing, this self-righteous thing I have, um, this inability to accept the person for who they are because I have these expectations that because you're associated with me, you're supposed to be better than that. Who the fuck do I think I am? Excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting a little loose here. Who do I think I am, right? That because you know me, or check this out, you're my brother, all of a sudden we're possessive of people. My friend, my brother, my my mother, and no, it's Ralph. Oh shit, I wasn't supposed to say his name. It's Ralph. It's Chris. It's Reggie. It's whoever they're who they are. It's funny how I am freed from this prison I erect for myself when I free you, when I let you go. That when I open the gates for you and let you out of this jail I put you in, I'm free. I no longer have to guard it. I no longer have to stand there and wait for you to get punished, or exact the punishment upon you. And I'm free. This freedom from the bondage of self, man, is such a cool thing. Do some amends. Start going out and doing some esteemable acts. Start doing some stuff like clean up that mess you made, Ronald. Go back and pay. And I really want to tell people, if you're waiting to make amends, waiting till you got all the money or you got whatever, make the payment plan. Make up because every time I went to pay my mother on that monthly plan that I made, every time you know what else I gave her on that payment date? I gave her a little bit of more of her peace of mind back. I repaid some of that trust I had stolen. I repaid some of that uncertainty that she had. She knew that Ronnie was coming on the 5th of the month every day. And when I showed up and I paid her, she knew that God had me, that there was something different about me this time, that now I'm not just talking, I'm doing. It's action, that my actions now mirrored what I was saying, that it wasn't just all puffery, that it wasn't all just some bullshit that I was saying, that I really meant it. You know how I experienced that? Reggie did the same thing for me. Reggie made an amends to me. And every time I looked at my Cash App and Reggie had that payment there, I said, he's going to stay sober this time. I'd had my hopes up so many times and he relapsed so many times and just up and down. And I didn't even want to hope anymore. When he made that amends to me and that $40 arrived, you may think that $40 is a little thing. That $40 is huge. Oh, I've got my little alarm there that's my 5-minute warning. All right. So if I got, oh, and there it is over on the side too. Oh, shit. Um, so if you're thinking of making amends, don't just think about it, do it. Do it. It will be a miraculous, the experience you will have and what you can do for others. And in the 10th step, I do this stuff on a daily basis. I try to keep my side of the street clean. I try to continue on a daily basis, not let my shit pile up so much. My mother, um, my mother was a great house cleaner. By house cleaner, she kept our house clean. But my mother also did what we call spring cleaning, where she broke out all the mops, all of all the brushes, the rags and stuff. We're gonna wash windows. We're gonna pull the bed back. We're gonna wash the baseboards. We're gonna do all that kind of stuff. That's a fourth step. A fourth step is the annual house cleaning. But in order for me to not have to have such a big annual house cleaning, clean it daily, Ronald. Don't let the shit pile up. That's the 10th step. The 10th step is doing these things on a daily basis. Wash, rinse, repeat. We just did the first 9 steps. Step 10, wash, rinse, repeat. Let's keep it clean. 11th step, wash, rinse, repeat. What we're doing is I'm trying to now, and the whole purpose of this, the whole purpose is to establish and improve the connection. Establish and improve the connection. The connection with what? With the power. I almost want to steal the analogy. Reggie gave such a great story. I was somewhere the other day and he gave such a great story. Now I'm attributing this to him, but after about 3 or 4 times, it's mine. Okay. I'll say this is my story. But Reggie told me about Reggie and Chris and I went to a meeting to see a guy that I sponsor who flew down to LA and he sponsored. Well, I went to pick Reggie up to take him to the meeting. And Reggie shared the next day. He said, I bought these ice creams I used to have as a youngster. They're called creamsicles. Now I don't know if you guys remember creamsicles. They're that orange, kind of orange and white thing, right? Well, I remember I used to love them, right? And so Reggie said he had bought some. He put them in the freezer, and he said they didn't seem to be getting that hard and stuff. And he was wondering what the problem was. But then I came and picked him up. He go to the meeting, great meeting. He comes home and the creamsicles are almost melted, right? And he's wondering, is my refrigerator broke? And he looks at it. He's tinkering with it. He looks at the manufacturing thing. He pulls out the warranty. He calls the company. They're closed because it's at night. He can't get in touch with nobody. He's bitching about it. He calls his ex, Carolyn. He's talking to her about it because I don't know if they had bought it together. He's asking her if she knows what might be wrong with it. And she says, have you checked the plug? And he looks in the back of the refrigerator and it's unplugged. And he said he plugs it up and it started. And he said, that's me. He said, if I get unplugged from the power, my life becomes ruined. He says that I can't function. I said, shit, that's a great story. I said, that's a great analogy, right? That I need to be connected. Whenever I get scared, see, this is the thing that puts me in bondage more than anything else. I have a fear of financial insecurity. Most of the problems I've ever had in life have been a result of me making rash decisions behind financial stuff. That's why I lost my license to practice law and stuff, aligning myself with somebody who had this, looked like he was going to be, making some money and all this stuff. So anyway, what I have learned is the more I stay connected, the less reliance I have on things outside of myself and the more freedom I have. Um, Maya, Thank you. I appreciate it. I know I was all over the place today, except I had a good time. If I'm the only one, I had a good time. So I want to thank you guys for my life and thank you for letting me share.